Hey, what up? I'm MITUS, and this is another episode of Creased Heat. Now, 2020 was a shit show. It was terrible. There was a global pandemic. Honestly, if I went into how bad my 2020 was personally, you probably wouldn't believe me. But in 2020, I was able to cop some serious grails. Now, the term grail gets thrown around a lot. One thing that really does my head in is when people talk about like a fairly recent release being a grail, something that's come out in the last couple of weeks, couple of months or whatever. Just because it's hyped doesn't mean it's a grail. A grail is something that, you know, you've torn over, you've fought over, you've counted down the days, you know, that type of stuff. That's a grail to me. With that being said, 2020 was the year that I was able to get some serious grails, things that I've been trying to tick off the list for years. Now the first one isn't that crazy. It's a GR type release, comes and it goes pretty often, but this is the first time I was ever able to cop, whether it be they sold out or I was broke at the time, whatever. This is something this is probably one of my longest grails. It's the Pippins. Now, I remember seeing these in the 90s. I mean, how could you not? The big air on the side. This is something I saw everywhere. Everyone had these. These are honestly one of the first sort of sneakers that I really took notice of as a kid. And even at that time, I didn't understand like that these were the Pippins. I didn't understand that these were, you know, a dope shoe. I just saw the big air on the side and I need to have them. Unfortunately, it's not until last year that I actually got a pair. But they're finally in my collection. As you can see, I've already worn them. I feel like most sneakerheads need to get a pair of these. For me, they are a grail. There's something, like I said, since the 90s I've been idolizing these. This is something I've wanted, and I remember they probably came back around about like say 2013-14, this exact colorway, the OG black and white. For whatever reason I missed it. I think they sat on the shelf too, but you know, no longer. I have them in my collection, already worn them, they went straight to feet, and I may even double up. But yeah, Pippins, they're a grail for me. I know I said it before. I said, you know, I get annoyed when people talk about like a fairly recent release being a grail. But for me, when I started discovering like university PEs, there was one that stood out above the rest, like for me. It was just such a really nice looking shoe. It had nothing to do with the university PE. So when the UNC3 came out, you know, obviously the standard Jordan Air, not the, and no UNC tag here. I need to have them. I actually managed to get two pairs of these, one in a 10.5, one in a 10. Usually I'm a 10.5 in threes, but it just so happened I got the 10s first and I tried them on and they were perfect. So the 10.5 I kept crispy for a minute, and I was hoping to trade for another 10 because, you know, I've already worn these a bunch of times. I wanted another pair to prolong the use. Didn't happen that way. Got an offer I couldn't refuse and just had to. I said before, I'm not a reseller. Reselling isn't my main focus, but sometimes the right price comes along and you can't refuse. But these here, the University Blue, you can't go wrong with this. This is clean. White sneakers for me will always be, you know, a love-hate relationship because they are so hard to keep clean. I mean, the white in here, if anyone's had a pair of threes ever, this pills up, you know, it happens. With the white pair, it's, you know, it sucks. But such a clean shoe, and you know, when I was initially looking at university PEs, this one came up and I just thought, man, if I could ever get that, that'd be so dope. Then they made a GR version, which is obviously this one. It came out March last year, so very early in the year. A lot of people forgot about it in terms of like, you know, sneaker of the year lists and everything, but for me it was number one. It's just so clean, so clean. But the previous year, like, because I was going through the GOAT calendar and I saw it in March and I just held out for so long, and I'm like, you know, I'm going to save up. If I can, I'm going to try and get like 10 pairs. Not the case. I managed to get 2 though. I did manage to get 2, which by the standards of right now in this COVID thing, not easy to do without bots. Yeah, UNC 3 for me, definitely a grail. The next one is kind of like a two-parter. I feel like you can't mention one without the other, but I used to see these, you know, coming up and seeing like within the Australian hip hop scene. I'd see a lot of artists repping these, and they'd always be box fresh, and I'd go, damn, I wish I had them. And I'd go down to Foot Locker and they wouldn't be there, and I just didn't understand yet, like, because, you know, I was only quite young and I didn't understand that these were limited edition colorways or OG colorways that would come and go and then would sell out. So I just keep an eye out for them and, you know, miss them because I didn't, you know, I wasn't getting that information. And to where I am now, the information is a lot easier to collect than say it was in, let's say, 07, you know what I mean? But it's, for me, they've been one of my favorite silhouettes for a long time. But you can't go past the classic OG colorways. The infrared 90, like I said, within the Australian hip hop scene, you're seeing like Bias B, Tommy Ill, like a bunch of people were repping this, you know. Same with this one. Even when I went to look for like source images, because I could have sworn I seen Bias B wearing the infrareds doing something, but when I googled just Bias B in images, he came up wearing the blue lasers. So I've seen this somewhere, but you know, man, what can you say about these? These are classic shoes, right? Recrafted so they're the OG type shape, even though, to be honest, if we're looking at them, they look like 2 completely different shapes. Maybe it's the materials, I'm not sure, but the infrareds, because of that impact, have been one that I've wanted for a long time. You know, I was seeing artists wearing them and they just look so dope. I remember, I'm pretty sure there's like a photo shoot with Tommy Hill wearing these, and I was just like, damn, I need them. I need them joints. And you know, as I did my research, started going on eBay and like seeing crazy prices and couldn't work it out. I had no idea why. You know, years gone by, a bit more knowledge, I know why. But yeah, for me, this has been one that I've wanted for a long time, the infrared 90. But at the same time, like, I prefer the color blue over red. So I've also wanted this one. I've also wanted the blue lasers, and for a minute there I was kind of more keen on the blue lasers than I was the infrareds, until I got the infrareds on in hand, and man, crazy. As you can see, I've worn them quite a bit. There's some marks there I probably should have cleaned up before this, but you know, this is Creased Heat. This is all about wearing your shoes. So that's what we're doing, man. We're wearing our shoes out here. Now, the last one is in a very similar boat to the last 2. I would see artists wearing these all the time, and I'd be like, man, where the hell do you get them? I go to Foot Locker and they ain't there, and I'm like, how are they getting these, you know? Then I started getting exposed to the world of like East Bay and everything, and you know, I remember the first of this silhouette I tried to cop was the red Toro 4s, you know, kind of giving away what it was, but the fire red 4s, same thing within the Australian hip hop scene. I'm pretty sure I've seen Bias B repping these in some sort of photo shoot as well. Trim, Briggs, I used to see them all wearing this joint, and man, them shits are so fire. How do I get them? How do I get these? Now I know how to get them. But yeah, I've already put these to feet too. Had to. Again, I'm not huge on red, but there's certain joints you make an exception for, you know. I remember being at House of Hoops in Melbourne, the original one, where you went downstairs, not when they changed it to going upstairs. And I remember seeing a pair of these on the wall. This is like 2012, 2013 maybe, and they were like a 14 or 15 or something. I'm like, yo, you got these in my size? And they're just looking at me. They're like, bruh, where have you been? I think that was the same trip I got my CP3s, the lime green, the nitro patch. So not a wasted trip. Almost got a pair of, they did like a DC pack for a Jordan release. I can't remember which one, but I almost copped them some Batman Jordans, but I didn't. But anyway, this one here, Fire Red 4, classic colorway. Even in the more recent Eminem drops he's been doing with his latest album, he's repping this, you know. He's always had a long time deal with Nike and Jordan, and you know, what can I say, man? Classic silhouette, OG colorway. Michael did some damage in these, and for me, they're a grail. Well, what do you guys think? What are your grails? What shoe have you been looking for years and waiting on a retro for? For me, some of these joints I've waited since the 90s for. Others, a year or so. Let's be honest. Let me know in the comments. I want to know your grails. I want to know what you're searching for. Maybe you've copped one of your grails. Maybe you've got, like me, a different sort of level to your grails. These ones here are like probably more of a sentimental type grail, whereas the ultimate for me is probably a Carhartt 4, but I ain't spending 20 grand on a pair of shoes. I'm just not. Comment, like, share, do all the routine stuff, and we'll keep bringing you that dope sneaker content. Peace.